If you're between 20 and 25% body fat, you've probably tried a few diets before. You go to the gym here and there, but nothing's really stuck. Maybe you told yourself that you need to gain some muscle first. But here's the truth: losing fat will be the biggest needle mover in your life. And what's stopping you are habits that you're probably not even aware of, especially when it comes to sugar, starch, skipping your tracking, avoiding the scale. So let this video be your turning point. I'll show you what to do today to start losing fat. No guesswork, just a simple plug and play system that's super easy to follow. So point number one is around personal responsibility. So the bad news is that it's your fault that you're in the situation you're in. But the good news is that it's your fault. And that means that you have the ability to change the trajectory. And that's the first step, is believing in yourself that you can make the change and that it's in your own hands. And I heard this great quote, which has always stuck with me. And it's that the difference between a winner and a loser is that a winner takes responsibility for everything that happens in their life. And the loser will just look to blame anyone or anything else. So from this point forward, we want to take responsibility and have that winner's mentality. So point number two, it's simple but not easy. Going from 25% body fat down to the low double digits where you start to see those visible abs. And it will try and drag you down and you can't trust it. It's the same brain that got you into this position in the first place. And the way I like to think about it is that it's better to focus on removal as much as possible. And really that's what the definition of focus is removing distractions. And I believe that perfection is usually achieved not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing more to take away. And in the Fight Club Physique program, I give you the exact step by step to follow with none of the fluff. So if you're interested in going through the whole process, then click the first link in the description. So point number three, and this is something that no one is willing to tell you, and it's that you probably have a addiction. And you might be thinking like, oh, addiction to what? I'm not addicted to drugs or porn or alcohol. What do you mean addiction? Well, there are actually a lot of food addictions, particularly when it comes to sugar and also carbohydrates as well. And in my mind, sugar is a drug. It can give you a short burst of energy, but in the long run, it's not really that much good to you. Just like, say, cocaine or MDMA. Sure, you get a nice burst of energy to start with and you feel good, but it's not a reliable source. It's like any other illegal drug. You feel great initially, but then it wears off and you feel worse than you were before. And the long term health consequences are quite severe. And if you're someone who's been trying to quit sugar, or the quitting sugar will make things easier, but you're not really sure how, the thing that which I always think about, which helped me eliminate sugar from my diet, was I just see it as a drug now. I wouldn't do any other kind of hard drugs or class A drugs for the same reason now that I don't really want to have sugar. I know it's not beneficial for me and I'm better off without it. So whenever I'm at a supermarket and I see all these rows of shelves with chocolate and sweets and that kind of thing, I literally see it as like drugs, and it makes it so easy to turn down. And another one which might seem quite controversial is to do with starches, namely bread, pasta, rice, those kinds of foods. They actually break down into sugar eventually. So it's kind of the same thing. And I used to have these crazy cravings all the time. I would never get a craving for whole foods, usually, like meat, vegetables. It would always be like these simple carbs, like crackers, bread, and also chocolate and sweets, these high sugar foods. That's what you get the cravings for. And so often, I'm sure you found yourself, you have a meal which has some carbs in it, and then 2 hours later, like you feel starving again. And your body is telling you, like, you need to eat, you need to eat. And obviously, it's not the case because you've eaten, a couple hours ago. Like, you're not going to die. but it's just the carbs like kind of messing up like signals. And I just try to stay away from sugar and starches and carbohydrates. I say to my students, like, you don't need to eliminate them to go through a body transformation. It will make things easier, but it can definitely be done. When I went through my initial transformation, losing 18 pounds in 10 weeks, I used to have a Kit Kat chunky like every night, and I would have carbs, and I was just kind of eating a quote unquote balanced diet, but I just made sure I was counting my calories, getting enough protein, and making sure I was in that calorie deficit. And if that's what's sustainable for you, then absolutely go for it. So point number 4 is things that you can do today. So first of all, if you haven't already, get some scales, ideally body composition scales that measure your body fat and muscle mass and that kind of thing. I'll pop the ones I have on screen. But if you don't want to get those, then normal weighing scales will be fine. You might have some already. You might just need to get some more batteries for them if you haven't used them in a while. And then we need some kind of document, whether that be a Google Sheet or the notes in your phone or Excel, just something to basically record our weights, because we're going to be weighing ourselves in every morning. And we're going to put that into this document so that we can track our progress over the weeks and make sure that we're making decisions based on the actual data and not just emotions. There's 2 free apps that I recommend getting. The first is MyFitnessPal to track nutrition. I used to have the pro version. It was around £16 per month, which was $20. But honestly, when I went back to the free version, it was completely fine. And I didn't feel the need to get the pro version and all the extra features. Like, you can absolutely use the free version perfectly fine. And the second app is the Strong app. And this is to track my lifts at the gym. I used to just rock up to the gym with no plan, and I just go through the motions and can choose what machines I wanted to do, like depending on how I was feeling. And I just try and guess the weights that I did last time. Sometimes it would be way off. And you spend a couple sets just trying to get the right weight. And safe to say, I made no progress. And it wasn't until I actually started tracking my lifts with the help of this app that I actually started to make some progress in the gym and started to get stronger. Now, you might be thinking, I thought the aim here was to lose fat. And that's true, that is the biggest needle mover. But why not get some muscle and some strength at the same time? So that when you do get to the low double digit body fat, then you've got some good muscle underneath to show for it, and you look far more aesthetic. So I do have the pro version for this one. It's around £30 for the year, which is around like $35. And the benefit of the pro is that you get more than 3 workout templates. So on the free version, you get 3, whereas on the pro version, you get unlimited. And I find that super helpful because I run different splits. I might do push-pull legs for a few months, and then I might do more strength training. And I'm constantly like trying out new training styles to find what works. So being able to have lots of different workout templates on there is well worth the £30 investment, in my opinion. The next thing you can do today is sign up to gym if you haven't already. You can work out at home and do like calisthenics, that kind of thing. But I think the gym is unrivaled when it comes to trying to gain muscle. And that's because there's just so much more equipment there. And once you're actually there, it's pretty tough not to do a workout because you've got all these other people around you who are working out. Whereas at home, it might be easier to slack, and you're not going to be able to hit all the body parts with enough weight if you're just training at home. So I highly recommend signing up to a gym. And all this to say that data is king and emotions are just noise. So that was the difference between me, who was over 20% body fat going nowhere, and me, who now stays lean and is getting stronger all year round, is having the data. I can't emphasize that enough. Next is I'm going to talk about exercise in general. And if you're 20 to 25% body fat, then exercise isn't as important as you think. What's far more important is actually the nutrition. And I see exercise as a way to specifically build strength, build muscle, or you might want to do it to build endurance or flexibility or general health. And when it comes to losing body fat, which is the biggest needle mover, that all comes from nutrition. So I'll caveat this training section by saying that it is good to do some exercise and it will speed things up for sure. So when I was over 20% body fat, I just focused on 3 resistance training gym sessions per week and doing 10K steps per day. And that was it. That's all I needed to get down into the low double-digit body fat and get the visible abs. And to be honest, any gym program will work really. What's more important is that you actually enjoy it and you look forward to training. That's how you're going to stick with it. So I'm going to put on screen a ChatGPT prompt that you can copy, and you just type this in and it will create a custom 3 day per week training split that you can start at the gym. Played around with it and it came up with some really good suggestions. So definitely go with that. I'll put the prompt in the description so you can just copy and paste it straight into ChatGPT. And if you don't use ChatGPT, then honestly, it's great. So finally, I'll talk about the most important part, which is nutrition. And if you want to lean down, you have 2 options when it comes to nutrition. Option number 1 is to eat like a dog. And that doesn't mean eating dog food. It just means eating the same things every day, just like a pet dog usually would. And option 2 is to count your calories. So if you do prefer having a variety of foods, then it's so important to count the calories because else it'll be impossible to know how much you're actually eating. And the calorie deficit is king when it comes to fat loss. So it makes things so much easier. And I used to think that counting calories restricts things a lot, but actually, I've kind of flipped my thinking out, and I believe it actually gives you more freedom because if you know exactly how many calories you've had and how much you've got left, it can actually leave some room for guilt-free treats. Like I was mentioning earlier, I used to have chocolate as a little treat at the end of every day, and I was still losing weight like one week. So if I wasn't counting the calories, then I might not have known if I had enough room, and I'd feel guilty for having like any kinds of treats like that. Protein, aim for 0.7 grams per pound of body weight per day. For calories, start with 15 times your body weight in pounds. So in the Fight Club Physique program, I call it like a week 0. So this is where you have a week at maintenance, which is the times by 15. You run it for a week. If your weight goes down within the target, which is 0.5 to 1% total body weight per week, then that's great. You don't have to change anything. But if you're accurate with your calorie calculations, then your weight should stay the same. And then what we do the next week is we go down to the times 14 multiplier and you just keep going. If you're in the target, then you don't need to change anything and just keep going down and down. The lowest I would go is probably about 11. That's where I really started to feel it. You probably won't want to do that for more than like 1 or 2 weeks, like right at the end of your cut. But hopefully by that time you would have got down to your target body fat percent goal anyway. Another key rule when it comes to nutrition is to only eat foods that you like. It's such a myth that you have to have these like toxic smoothies or 10 different crazy vegetables like a day. There is a meal plan out there for everyone that they enjoy, they look forward to every day. It's convenient and fits their macros. So it's all about just trying to experiment, keeping things simple and making tweaks so that you can finally find out what that golden meal plan is. Another tip that you can do is an elimination diet. Now, there are 2 kinds of elimination diets. One is the bottom up and the other is the top down. So the bottom up elimination diet is where you cut absolutely everything apart from one thing, which is usually like red meat, because you can live and survive off just red meat, you obviously couldn't survive just off bread or any other kind of food, really. So you basically pull everything back. You just eat pure red meat, make sure it's fatty enough, and also drink water. And then what you do is each week you bring back one item of food and you just keep bringing food back one at a time. And if suddenly you find that a food affects you in a negative way, then you can be like, oh, okay, take that out and replace it with something else. And it's a real good way to actually figure out how you react to different foods without pulling it back to just that one food to start with, then you never really know. And then the bottom down elimination diet is the opposite, where you just have what you currently eat at the moment and you just take away one thing at a time. For most of you, that's probably the easier option. You can even take certain ingredients away rather than certain food items. So you could start with, okay, I'm going to pull back on sugar and then I'm going to pull back on seed oils, for example. You could go for bread or chocolate, whatever you like, really. Just take one out each week, and eventually you have a pretty clean diet. And I will also say that you can be flexible with your nutrition and still get the result. So if you went the whole 12 weeks eating perfectly clean, no alcohol, no sugar, no seed oils, etc., then sure, you'll achieve the result quicker and you'll probably feel better. But for a lot of people, it's just not sustainable. And it's better to make small like tweaks rather than trying to go gun ho and make loads of changes at once, because it just won't be as sustainable. And I have a whole module in the Fight Club Physique program where I take you through exactly how to create your own meal plan that I was describing earlier. So that's the top link in the description. Don't forget the ChatGPT prompt. If you like this video, then you might also like this video. So I'll see you there.